TSM up 2-0. TL stop, choose blue. So far it's been blue side chosen every game, but blue side advantage has gone the way of... but TSM's won both games on both sides. So now TL... And you kind of have to pause and think back to where TL is as a team, because we should open up kind of our thoughts. This was something we put together as a stream, myself and also the stream, of like what we were trying to ascertain from TL in this series. How does Team Liquid draft play, utilize impact as a resource? Well, we feel like game number 1, they actually had a pretty good read on that. Game number 2, they weren't able to really get value out of it. And in general, we feel like Broken Blade has got the scaling matchup and gotten ahead on it. So that's an important thing for us to consider in the game 3 draft. How practices Team Liquid at correct back timings, vision games, read big objectives? I think they were much better than they have been at the end of the season at this. Like, I thought they had the really nice TP play bot lane and things like that. So I think in general, they've answered some of my questions around back timings and things like that. We can't really answer question 3 or 4. I think their stabilizing has been pretty good. They ran out of tools in game number 2 to wield that. I think Jensen has been pretty poor so far in this series, but again, we're going to have more information there. And how is TL's adaptation of pick ban during a series is going to be best kind of revealed in this game number 3. So just want to throw them up there just as food for thought, because these are the sort of things we're trying to ascertain. Given that we know that TL wins this series, we're using this series as a jumping off point to understand how this team will look coming forward to things like MSI. So let's get into this pick ban. So, Tar expand, so Sonatar blue side's not going to happen like we saw from TSM in game number 2. When it comes to first picks, I don't think the Zoe's going to get even raised further. I think we had a lot of second round solo lanes. A lot of teams would take Rek'Sai in this spot, and I wouldn't hate it because I think Smithy's had some really impressive Rek'Sai games. The Varus would be trying to deny Varus Tahm Kench. So if it is a Varus, it's likely to be Ashe Braum versus Varus Tahm. That's normally how this goes. Because normally Varus just ends up being a red side pick with Tahm Kench. Galio was up. So I think this could have very easily been Galio, Varus Tahm, Ashe. But Galio Ashe as a 2v2 doesn't do well against the kind of Varus. Yeah, against that sort of lane. So it's interesting. Galio first pick would have been the game 1 choice. We don't see it here, and that means that Galio X is going to be taken by TSM. So it's not going to be Braum. They're happy to give up Braum here, which is interesting already as a note. So Galio Kalista. Okay, so we see Kalista. Sven, a historic Kalista player. So it's cool to see this. It's a lane that can try to all in Varus Tahm around Tahm cooldowns. But it's, you know, it's sometimes bold. Like, they didn't have to go this way. They could have taken away the Tahm Kench, but that means 100% Tahm Kench and choice of jungler comes here to TSM. To TSM, to TL. So TSM's gotten something that has potential for something that's very reliable. Like if you take Rek'Sai here, like it's a sick first round draft from Team Liquid. So every game so far, LeBlanc has been banned. It'd be a very early LeBlanc pick. They take GP first round, huh? So they don't want Rek'Sai, even though Rek'Sai looks pretty good in this spot. GP first round. To me, the only reason to do this is to bring up Broken Blade and force him to first round one of his strong top laners, because 100% of the time you double ban top if you want to get away with GP in the first round. Like they're saying, if you want Vlad, you're picking it now, or we're banning Vladimir to stop a Vladimir Kalista Galio team comp. So if you want Vlad, you need it first round. It'll be at the cost of the jungler you want. So this is almost an indirect attack of Arcadian's champion pool. That sounds like counter logic, but what you're saying is you're pricing TSM into first rounding a top laner, and then you get to double ban jungle and remove, say, Rek'Sai, Hecarim, Jarvan, or some choice of those picks. The Zillion Kindred is something that TSM could go for second round, but It's kind of a interesting approach here. So this is TL adjusting their draft phase by first rounding a solo lane. We haven't seen this before. This also stops Broken Blade from getting a red side counter pick last pick. Actually get huge value. This is basically saying, as Galio, so as GP, I'm going to get an okay matchup and be fine. And the chance of Broken Blade being able to get a 5th pick last pick that we can't see coming and adjust for with multiple picks, you know, is there now. They're going to have the multiple picks on TL's side to answer if it is a first round top laner. So very interesting. Like TSM at this point is no doubt like, wait, what? So someone gets pincered here and Broken Blade's counter pick is shown early. So if you wanted Vlad, you had to take it. Like we mentioned, they do take the Vlad because Vlad beats GP in the side lane. It's very hard for GP to sustain through this lane. So they do blink. And now TL get all the information that it's definitely going to be hard, engaged teamfight comp with Vladimir top. So remaining roles are mid lane and also jungle. TSM don't seem like a team to last big jungle. So I guess TL might be wondering if they'll go back to Hecarim if they ban Jarvan Rek'Sai. The other thing is, maybe TL want to play Zillion Kindred. Zillion ban. That's smart. Because if TL doesn't ban Rek'Sai, TSM kind of have to pick Rek'Sai, and then you could finish the draft on TL's side with Zillion Kindred. So that's why you see the Zillion ban from TSM. That's very interesting. This is a high-level draft. I'm enjoying this one. So you would assume just a Rek'Sai ban here. If not, then it's a Skarner pick from PapaSmithy and they want to attack another specific champion from Bjergsen's pool. Okay. So now it feels like Rek'Sai versus Skarner is probably what's going to happen in this game. Does TSM try to subvert that by not taking Rek'Sai at this pick and holding jungle? That seems like a really big thing to do. Interesting. Okay. So if you take Rek'Sai at Sven's pick, PapaSmithy will take Skarner, and then it's Skarner pick comp with Varus, which is actually pretty strong. You could just turn into a sieging draft and GP ulting other lanes. So TSM, take the LeBlanc that's been banned 1,000,000 times this series. And it's something that there's not traditionally fantastic matchups against. What do you take against LeBlanc here? I'm trying to think what people would take. You could take Azir and try to just force her into Corrupting Potion, farm it out. But Azir can get womboed on. Like, it can work against teamfight comp, but it doesn't always work. You kind of want something that can traverse through to a side lane against LeBlanc. So Karma or Lulu would be the old picks in years past, but I think we're probably behind those days. Syndra could be taken for that attempted skill matchup. I'm very interested to see what the choice is against LeBlanc. By the way, guys, I haven't watched this game, and I don't know the pick ban for this game. There is the Skarner. Okay. Cool. Okay, so it was going to be a Skarner versus Rek'Sai, where you like the jungle matchup, and also it works with the comp. This is like a kind of... I'm actually patting myself on the back a bit, because I did intuit through this. That's fun. But what is the mid lane matchup against LeBlanc? Huh. I don't know. Malzahar? Something like losing a little bit? Like, I'm actually not sure what approach you take here against LeBlanc. Oh, I don't like Zed at all. It's a good matchup in the lane. Okay. It's going to be Syndra. Just for... There wasn't really a better option. It doesn't feel good. And there is the Rek'Sai anyway. Weird. Okay. So maybe TSM just thought that TL would take LeBlanc Skarner and didn't want to deal with that. And obviously they've been banning Jensen's LeBlanc, so I guess that part makes sense. But This gives me worries for Arcadian's champion pool if he takes Rek'Sai into Skarner. I think you take... what do you take here? If you can get away with it, you take Zac. Zac is the god tier pick at Arcadian's pick. Like, Zac is so insanely good against this comp. But there's the risk that you get run over a little bit. But Skarner isn't the best at running people over. Like, yes, at level 6 he gets a kill usually, but... I think greedy choice with last pick jungle is Zac. I think if you want to be a bit safer, you take Sejuani. With Rek'Sai, you can just blow fools up if you get a good gank angle, but I would have assumed something else here. And Olaf is fine also to be taking, because you do have some priority in your lanes to play Olaf around. And Olaf won a game, as we know, in semifinal. I don't like the Rek'Sai pick. Zac is like the awesome pick here. Yeah, TL being down 2 games after going 3-0, 3-0 last year. Here is the ultimate test of mental. They've got such a settled team that this is the team that you would actually be comfortable. Like, you don't like predicting teams to reverse sweep if they have rookie players in them, because it's so hard. It's indescribable how much pressure you're under when you are no longer in your home stadium at a big... you take a flight, you don't have the same comfort. Things are really different for players who haven't played in finals before, which is why TL's kind of mental edge over most teams is going to be there in domestic play. Didn't talk about vision that much, so spotting ward at enemy red helps the jungle pathing here. No forward vision. There's been a lot of shallow vision. Level 1s have been very passive in this series so far, as we noted. GP gives a leash, so huge information advantage for TSM at level 1. They know GP was giving a leash onto blue, therefore they know Skarner started top, and obviously the ward on bot side confirms that. They should know Skarner's pathing pretty spot on. Arcadian has a lot of advantage, a lot of possibility to double scuttle in this game with the extra information they have. That's why he doesn't go a Krug camp clear on red side. When we've seen red side Skarners, we've seen a lot of Krug second, but you don't go Krug second when you have that information advantage. You're actually probably surprised to see Smithy here. Yeah. As put by Azael, Bjergsen got the push, would have had first rotation, so Arcadian was positioning himself for double scuttle. Skarner can just run to the second scuttle, and actually just full reset through the bot side if he wants into going for a Krug power farm through top. But he's actually pinging towards a turret dive here, which would be really hard. You definitely don't want to do that. So a lot of Griffin's famous dive that you see a lot of teams doing is this grouped minion wave bot side turret dive with the jungler that has just finished the scuttle around 3 minutes dive, which with Tahm Kench is possible because he can pop turret shots. But Skarner is not Elise or a jungler that can, or Rek'Sai, like a jungler that can path creatively over the wall, reset aggro. Like, that's not Skarner. He takes the maximum turret shots. He's a much more honest jungler. So actually making the turret dive play is way too hard and way too risky against Tremor Sense, just making you look like a fool. Sven's a good Kalista player. CoreJJ loves to get in there and brawl. We remember his Galio invade. Laning wise going, basically fine. Impact has the biggest struggle because you kind of have to go Trinity Force Sterix in this lane or you just die. You can't really go any sort of new age build because IE second or third is becoming more and more popular. on GP in recent builds. And getting that IE second is just dying instantly to Vladimir when he enters lane. It's not ideal. So TL's draft, as the game goes on, becomes about pick into Siege. Syndra underrated Siege champion because she can poke and all in. If you step out of line, she just QERs you. Skarner very good at getting a pick from champions that are trying to move between lanes. If you set up your vision and get control wards around what the objective you're sieging, Skarner just punishes anyone trying to contest vision. So while Tremor Sense is kind of useful, Skarner does really well into Rek'Sai in general. Scary to get Broken Blade the Vlad, but I really like how TL approached this draft. Like, they've got the champions clear that are on their must-ban list, but elevating top to first round stops Broken Blade from being a solo win condition. And the reason why I say that is, even if the draft goes the same way and you second round GP and then Broken Blade takes Vlad last pick. Let's say that happens because for whatever reason they can't ban Vlad for the second round. If that happens, you were not able to control for whether Broken Blade played Vlad or Jax. And those are two champions he plays and two champions he plays that win the game very differently. But if you get him to first round Vlad, or he takes two more bans and is forced onto kind of a tertiary carry that he hasn't scrimmed as much, then you're not under as much pressure as being answered by this Vladimir that beats you. So you get the advantage of elevating Vlad to first round is they got two more picks to round out a comp, knowing the enemy was going to be about Vladimir. Didn't go over this because we were talking about that. Gonna watch this play again. So Smithy's waiting. Arcadian comes in. Smithy didn't get to sweep because he doesn't have sweeper yet. Super hard engage. He's invisible, right? Smithy just all ins onto Core JJ. It's an exhaust. Okay, here's something interesting. So Core JJ's gone exhaust Tahm Kench against Galio. Usually the reason why Varus Tahm Kench does well is you go cleanse Tahm Kench against Galio, and then you just under no threat, and you can always disengage, and the 1.5 second taunt in lane doesn't matter. The exhaust here, I guess, is to help with 2v2 and 3v3 skirmishing, and also just face-checking a LeBlanc when he's on a vision mission. But that's weird that he goes exhaust. Like, I couldn't see this gank ever working, but you can go exhaust if your team is like, hey, we need an exhaust. I guess against Vlad, Rek'Sai, or LeBlanc in a team fight. But then you can't do this. You have to play to the summon you take. If you go cleanse, you can walk up without full information and go for a cheeky lick and back away, right? But if you go for this lick with exhaust, you just die to CC. Like, this is actually really bad laning from Core JJ. That's a big mistake in the 2v2. It wasn't a 2v2, but like, he walked up to get 100 damage trade in and maybe buy some time for level 4 Skarner to press Predator and then died. Like, that was actually just really bad by Core. And that means that bot lane, look, he didn't use flash, so like, but with no cleanse, like, it's so weird. Like, it feels like they're under way more pressure in the 2v2 than they should be because he didn't go cleanse. Really bad. Really, really bad play. Good capitalization from TSM to just take the free kill. First recall. Varus doesn't back, actually, so Varus pushing in lane is what allows them to start Ocean Drake. It's on a ward. When did Rek'Sai back? So they got the kill. Rek'Sai, I guess, took Gromp and waited for Wolves to respawn. So it's very disconnected, but you can't really blame the Rek'Sai for it. I'm just seeing why TL got to start this objective. It's also because Double Lift stays in lane a really long time. Like most AD carries will basically instantly recall the enemy. They push one recall, but he spends a lot of time and he walks over. It's pretty unselfish by Doublelift because if it does end up in a fight, like if Rek'Sai hadn't have taken the extra camp, Arcadian came in probably level 4 without Warrior Enchant, but he had like, you know, Boots, Core Fields, and the Chilling Smite, and Doublelift had walked up to auto attack with no item, then they get owned here because Rek'Sai would be here roughly 8 seconds faster, right? Instead, because Rek'Sai went for the full greed back, you actually get rewarded for overstaying in lane. Not often that will happen. Bye, Claude JJ. 1 kill for Ocean Drake. I agree with Azael. I think Ocean Drake is more important than 1 death onto Core JJ. Like, that's actually probably overall a really good trade for TL. This is like the highest value Ocean Drake team we've seen in a long time. Ocean Drake is super impactful for everyone on TL. Especially if Core JJ wants to go for zoning licks. I'll blow you a kiss, Ratty Bag. Someone needed a kiss, I blew him a kiss. How does this play happen? So Scuttle was given up by the Skarner, and Rek'Sai actually just comes in and almost gets the kill. It was Flash afterwards. Remember that would have followed through Flash and killed him if it was an execute range. It wasn't, so that's probably fine. Shout out to GP for getting some pretty decent CS in the early laning phase here. Nice lane spot here for Doublelift. That's awesome lane spot for Varus. Nothing that Kalista can do to push this wave without coming in, try to pierce it. But you just have Tahm Kench body block anytime he tries to pierce the minions. So you got the freeze on. That freeze, like this level of lane positioning, like where it was like about, you know, 2 teamers ahead of where it is now, plus Skarner hitting level 6 is like the god tier. Chain of Corruption thrown out. Skarner ult comes in, kill acquired. But they were able to sneak in a ward. When was that? Galio put it down ages ago, so about a minute ago they get the ward spotting onto the red buff. Important ward. It's going to die with Xmithy in the brush, so he knows he's been spotted, but that ward actually relieves a lot of pressure from the bot lane here. Because now the Abyssal Voyage play, now the lane gank, none of it works. So now, I mean, you see how much of a CS lead TL are turning a bot lane from, you know, the spot of staying in lane and helping with the Drake, the item lead not being abusable because of the Drake coming in, and then getting the lane free. Such a 25 CS lead onto Sven and Smoothie. And it's kind of why we were a bit surprised that no Tahm Kench was contested, is that while with a cheeky all-in, you can get a kill. Maybe you can like wombo CC Core JJ without cleanse through. The no cleanse is like more than Kalista and Galio deserved. And when that's not doing all the work, because that was weird timing from Core JJ, still worked. Like in most scenarios, Varus Tahm Kench just owns this duo, right? That's what we're seeing here. They don't know Arcadians yet. Now Doublelift's left alone. Oh, man. This is some Fiesta play. So, first of all, like Doublelift just walks up too far, and Core JJ, was he putting down a control? Like, why wasn't he there? Core JJ's like, considering his options, I don't really know why he walks up, and then Doublelift just like almost instantly dies. Like Core JJ gets, okay. Here's what happened. Core JJ just cashed in his quest. You can see from the little star. That doesn't mean that I'm almost done with Super Mario Odyssey. Like, he just got his quest. And Doublelift wasn't aware. I guess maybe he didn't say quest coming in, going towards. So Core JJ was just about to ward to like spot the blast plant or something. And Doublelift walked up at the same time. Whoops. Terrible. So Doublelift takes his whole health bar as harass, I guess you'd call it. Now this all-in, if it's onto the Tahm Kench, kills him during Grey Health, but of course, in this case, it's onto Doublelift, so we all in onto it, the GP ult goes down. This is the sort of punishments why Varus Tahm Kench is strong. As you come out of the belly, you have Chain of Corruption, you'll get a punishment, so well played there. They go for the next kill, having no idea where Rek'Sai is with the Skarner, and amusingly, Sven and Arcadian just kill Doublelift. Oh, the end of it's funny. Doublelift's like, damn it. They are indeed. Ends up 2 for 1, which again is fine. Like, there's only so ways you can outplay a huge numbers advantage like that. Again, let's talk about how this all starts. Doublelift mistake. Agreed? Over here. We'll go all the way back. Doublelift makes a mistake. Yes. He walks up too far when Core JJ is about to put down a ward. Core JJ and Doublelift have a bit of a desync. But a lot of cleanup comes after this. And the reason for that is that Varus Tahm Kench have huge turnaround. They have GP ult as well to use bot lane, whereas Broken Blade can't respond to this lane. They're going to rotate first because the Syndra has priority on the LeBlanc in the bot lane. If there's going to be bot lane plays, TL have the, lifelines to be able to throw in and trade up. Like, they picked a draft with the first round GP to trade up bot side, and they're even happy with the jungle matchup as well, and that's why it's quite easy for them to play bot side, and even though they're making mistakes, they're still trading up. Not often does an AD carry take 90% of his health bar for free, and you trade up after it, but that's what happened during the initial play. They super overstayed. Okay, I don't know why we're still fighting. Does anyone know why we're still fighting? I guess we're fighting over Scuttle. On full respawns. What are we doing? This feels a bit LPL-ish, where it's like, what are we fighting for? Broken Blade gets TP advantage, but level 9 Vlad, it doesn't really matter. Like, this is like level 17 Vlad. Obviously, it's terrible to give a TP advantage over, but it's probably fine to chase for kills. I don't know why we kept, like, this entire fight sequence. How long is it? We end at 11... Where do we end? We end at 11:50. Like, this taunt is at 10:30, and we're actually just fighting with no objective taken. A long time. A lot going on there. Both teams trying things. TL trying to play proactive around bot side. It's definitely a really, really extended play. We don't need to watch the replay over the third time. Impact teleporting down, again, this early doesn't matter, but this is just Vlad versus GP, right? Yeah. Most GPs have dropped stopwatch from their utility spec, so because you don't go utility first anymore with no kleptomancy, so because of that, you just get turret dived again and again. Vlad can do that solo with enough items, but we're not at the enough items part, and Rek'Sai obviously has 3 kills already this game, so... Nice punishment top side. Gets them 2 turret plates. If you look overall, though, the fact that there's a 2 turret plates Vladimir against a 1 turret plate Varus Tahm Kench is actually pretty big for TSM and how this early game is played out. Thank you. So 700 gold Varus Tahm Kench lane, even without the cleanse and like some troll deaths, is they had 4 deaths bot lane and they're still up in gold, which up in gold as a team 1200 gold, which is a huge lead through bot lane. Callista's just never been able to get minion wave control. You really wonder why they didn't just go Ashe Braum. I say Ashe Tahm Kench against Varus. Are we back to a Varus meta? Kind of feels like it a little bit. Then top lane, 300 gold. Once again, it's 4-1. This time from TL. The GP 4-1 is generous in that the GP just wants to hug a turret, get a Trinity Force more AD, and wave clear with barrels and not get turret dived, and then throw a cannon barrage down while Varus Syndra siege, and Skarner and Tahm Kench are there for disengage and pick. But TSM just roll in and get the Cloud Drake. I actually like how Impact plays. He's trying to bait for the Skarner here onto Broken Blade. That's why he attacks the minion wave and Smithy Predators in, because he predicts the Broken Blade is going to be camping the brush, like you always would as a Vladimir, looking for a solo kill. And it gets him his full resets. Actually quite a nice call there. That's the right time to call your jungler. I feel like you're always worried as a TL fan that Impact's calling his jungler to relieve his bad laning phase. Like that's like kind of like the glass half empty. I believe, like, you know, if you believe Impact's not a good top laner, and if you believe he's the reason they might lose games, then in your head you're worried he's going to lose a skill matchup, and then the jungler's going to have to help him, otherwise he loses harder. Instead, what we're seeing here is Impact using his game knowledge and his lane phase knowledge and his knowledge of his opponent to get a good recall timing to use only the small amount of time of the jungler and get a reset to get a Trinity Force back. So that's definitely the glass half full top laner experience from Impact. He wasn't going to get solo killed. He was going to get his item timing in a lane where he has no control. That's actually pretty well played. I keep wondering how this game would go if Core JJ had cleanse. I'm going to be real. Impact's actually getting the gold up here. That's big for him. Ah, so they tried to give Kalista solo gold, or at worst, one-way split gold, and actually Impact at the turret first. Bad luck, I guess. Someone should have been looking topside and been able to do the math there on how to play that. This lane really sucks for GP, so even though you'll see Impact using flashes and stuff, the cleanse, man. The lack of cleanse and the lack of gray health is making me very sad. We've just farmed it out in mid. I think LeBlanc free farm versus Syndra outscales Syndra pretty hard. Syndra's such a weird champion to talk about, and so is LeBlanc in scaling. Like LeBlanc, I think, is very underrated mid to late game if she hits her item spikes on time, because the ability to QR people and then have that cooldown on like 8 seconds to 12 seconds at level 16 means you're good in sieges, you're good in side lane. Like LeBlanc is good in a lot of flexible scenarios, and Syndra gets outranged or uses her burst onto a frontliner very often. How does this play happen? I'm watching this. So Rek'Sai comes through, not spotted at all. I think Doublelift's trying to find he's trying to find the safest way to mid lane, just in case Kalista Galio going mid. He definitely does not expect Rek'Sai there. Huh. TSM are trying a very proactive play at the red side jungle. It does mean the game is about what they're doing and not the Varus Tahm Kench rotating around, so to some degree I kind of understand it. Like if you watch the minimap here, like they're super in on this play, trying to make the fight happen, but there's not a lot of objectives to fight around here. And I guess you have a nice item lead on the Vlad versus the GP in terms of what he'll put out in a fight. Like your items now are better for fighting, so I can understand the call of fighting, but this is such a deep area to be fighting around that you wonder why they were trying to fight there so much. Oh, Vladimir versus GP. I like the last part there. Like the first part, why is TSM there? I'm not 100% clear, but I like the last part of returning to it after the disarray and getting the further kill. So my only issue here is like, what is the objective you're fighting for with these kills and with this play? And that's the part I'm not 100% clear on. Still, that part's over. Now it's back to the sieging part that, like we mentioned, TSM wanted to delay. TL are a lot more at risk when face checking. Devour accepted. So if the objective is started by TSM, you got to be really careful to not get flanked by Vladimir, and also just the Fate's Call engage. So it's smart to just give up Cloud Drake. It never feels great to give up Drakes when you have a comp like TL's that wants to rotate. Like double Cloud means it's more likely that when you're trying to go for a siege game, TSM will be in position to answer it. But this is the 4-1 we talked about, where GP's bot lane trying to wave clear and not die with Sterix on the way, and with the GP ult, they want to take objectives around the map. So Baron's set up and pushing mid lane turret. Like, mid lane turret is the god tier for TL right now. They want to play the map as narrow as possible, and Jensen, if you notice, is going to make plays where he considers going top, but there's no reason for him to hit that minion wave right now. It's going to take a long time to crash anywhere. So it's all about the siege here, and TSM should know that. Very hard for Double F to get auto attacks in, because he's going to get Fate's Cold on pretty instantly. Baron buff is god. If TL get Baron buff, it's very easy to win this game, because LeBlanc suddenly has no impact over a minion wave. It takes Ven way longer than most AD carries to clear out a minion wave, and Vladimir doesn't pressure them in the side lane. So it's a lot of setting up 4-1 with GP bot lane, 4 members in the mid lane, Tahm Kench and Skarner to control the Spires and also control wards on the Baron, and then mid turret or Baron Star is kind of the god tier right now. And you feel a bit on a timer, because Vlad, if he gets that big TP flank off around the Baron in the future with 2 more items, just wins the game straight up. How do you feel about TSM's bot lane getting hard outpaced with a win 2v2 matchup? I'd actually... You're all in as Galio Kalista is winning against Varus Tahm Kench, but I think calling it a winning matchup is a misnomer. I think you need jungle like snowball. If you get the first kill, the second, third, fourth can be really good, but I think Varus Tahm Kench in a lot of cases beats Kalista Galio, so I'm not willing to call it a hard winning matchup. Just my opinion though. TSM are basically ready for a AoE team fight, and TL, as a mostly siege draft, desperately wants to avoid that. What starts this? It's a good play by TL. This is how you play this comp, where you need a 4-1 lead, is you get the kill during Cannon Barrage and before Vladimir can get there. Predator Skarner has huge engage range. You pull one person over, And the moment that one person's being dragged by Skarner, the chances of Vlad being able to flank onto a battlefield that's moving with the Skarner suppression is a lot less. Like, your TP is too slow, it wasn't up in this case. Even if it's not a Predator Vladimir, so you're not actually fast enough to get there. And you're pulling TSM around the map and trying to deny a 5v5 through how reliably you siege, the fact that Impact gets to build AD and does good turret damage as a GP, and the fact that Impact is there with the ult when the Vladimir still has to run. So this is the advantage of globals. 2 globals come down. Vladimir is ready to fight. The Hurricane's in for TSM. Like, they're ready to fight, but they just can't get their chips in order because the rotational speed of true global and semi-global can't be denied. So Vlad comes up on a control ward, not spotted. He's still very likely to be there. I was trying to see if he was spotted clearing the ward. He doesn't clear the ward. Doublelift has no idea where Broken Blade is. That makes his face check a little bit more understandable. He also has Hex Drinker, so I think if you don't have Hex Drinker, you go all the way around. With Hex Drinker and the fact that there was no reveal at all from Broken Blade, I think it's fine. Like, it's much more likely than not that he's in that brush, but a good collapse overall. Just trying to kind of fully understand the play. Other advantage of a play like this, can't be flanked by someone who's initiating on your side of the jungle, right? They're able to get over there, they can suppress him, they can take him down, and now Vlad's no longer a factor, and even though Sven has a great teamfight build, it's just chasing after one people as a conga line. So I think overall really well played by TL. Level 15 for Bjergsen, who doesn't have his Mimic up twice in this fight. I think TL understands how to play their draft in this game well. TL's playing this good. Again, this play with Hex Drinker, with the fact that they spotted a controller in the brush, like, it's like 65% that Vlad's in the brush. But look what Smithy's doing. He's running down this way, ostensibly to contest the Drake, but also as backup here. And while Broken Blade gets the start of something onto Doublelift, he's got the Hexter. He's never going to die to the first round damage. You need like 2 Tides of Bloods and like 2 transfusions to get the kill there. And then it's such a square fight where 4 people are running at 1, 4 people are running at 2. Bjergsen might be getting a chunk out of Doublelift, but no more. There's never been an extended siege where Broken Blade found the time to get a flank. That's an important thing that TL need to subvert, because most other map states are actually in their advantage outside of Impact getting pushed in. But Impact loses turrets slower than most people do against Vladimir in the late game, just because there's no way for Vladimir to stop the barrel wave clear. So 4-1, 4-1. They got that out of turret like we mentioned. Now it's purely Baron. Baron is a huge game winner for TL. Their Baron, comp with Baron against TSMs. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it all but wins the game in 1 Baron. But getting the 1 Baron when you're scared of Vladimir, harder. And it's hard. It's hard to get a Baron when your 1 in the 4-1 can't pressure anything. Because TSM need to find something they like enough to use Vladimir's teleport, and TL kind of need Vladimir's teleport to be down in order to take the Baron. So that's kind of the lull state we're in right now, is something needs to spawn on the map, or someone needs to make a mistake around vision to actually justify the game changing without those 2 things. QSS-wise, Calista Galio both have them, so they can be wave clearing. GA onto Rek'Sai, and LeBlanc is just too slippery, right? So they can contest vision here really well. TSM get vision control, and it's double blue trinket again from the side of TL, so they're not going to be, you know, in any way surprised. They can also use a cannon barrage if necessary to check the Baron. So the game just extends here. There's no real way for this game to play anywhere else. The reason for that, if you're wondering why this feels very kind of... If you feel bad about this, the problem here is Syndra doesn't play side lane very well. TL have a 4-1 draft where their 1 is a wave clear 1, not actually a pressure 1. TSM can't tank the Baron because they're too squishy. They can't burst it. They have good secure from Calista, but not necessarily the burst damage to kill it fast. And the Vladimir hasn't found the space to actually just solo kill GP. Like, GP's got enough items to not die now. So with all of that put together, it's kind of like you need Elder and Baron to split people to 2 areas on the map, and then need to trade up through that, because the way it's playing currently, you know, this is no action. Mountain Drake started. TL can check with their face and start this. They're so happy to see Vlad on vision. They just want to rush it down as fast as possible. Close to a 50-50. TP's now. If Smoothie does taunt flashes, how many people does he get, and does it stick? Because if he taunt flashes, Hemoplate definitely going to get there. What happens here? Let's watch this. I'm watching Smoothie. He's slowed? I thought he might be slowed. He's not slowed by any real amount. Huh. Let's watch the replay of this. I'm gonna watch this in slow motion. So Broken Blade comes in, sees impact, and he's like, crap. I didn't even know there was QSS on Broken Blade. He must have had it though, yeah. So QSS is this. He didn't have QSS before. He must have bought on his last back. I didn't notice it. But this is what you can't have happen. You can never have double lift and Jensen hitting a frontliner because they will die. That's how much damage they do right now, because they're just trying to play front to back at TL. They've got the honest team comp that just wants to play with a front line and focus on one member. Meanwhile, TSM are trying to dive, but the dive is abated because the threat level has gone. So we just back away from here. So still overall a lot of inaction, all things considered. Nicely done. So let's go back a bit. They actually play this really well. So Double If walks back in with more Marmodius, feeling strong enough to walk up. But from this point onwards, let's see when the threat starts. Yeah, they get surprised by the flank here. What is everyone else on? So Jensen's wave clearing. Skarner's taking the Gromp. He was starting the Gromp and then just out of position. Really nice move from TSM. Like, that's a window in the lull state you don't see. Like, this is very much the lull state wasn't correctly defined, and there was this one little area in the corner that was like a holdout region. And TSM get a lot there. Nicely played. It's only mid lane turret. They can't get Baron from this. They don't get much from it. It's just 2 for 1 and mid lane turret. But like, you need to do this a couple of times, and then maybe there's good times rolling. Double If dies with flash up, but he would have died, I think, there either way. But that's what was required for them to get something going. And now TSM just say, let's start the Baron. And we've got secure on it, and we're going to try and turn. And this is kind of up there with the Baron we talked about TL not doing in game number 2. And that making this game around Baron right now is not a bad idea. Like, there's a lot of future game states where things aren't going to go your way. So they just try to rush the Baron and see what happens. Starting the Baron here is fine. So this plot so far is fine. Now, I think you fully kite upwards. But the problem is the GPO catches them and they're caught, and it keeps the Baron leashed, right? So then everyone is in this awkward positioning where they're going to get super punished by TL. This is where starting the Baron suddenly gets really awkward when it's down to 6,000. What should you do? Because GPL, it's going to keep it leashed the entire time. If you try to kite upwards, TL can just run at Baron and kill it, and then you feel really sheepish, and you end up losing everything. So while I like the Baron start, as it all goes on, and the fact that it was DPS down to 6,000 ends up costing them a lot. Now they have Baron, and what did we say earlier? TL's comp should basically win the game with Baron. So let's see how much they get. We're feeling like this Baron buff power play is going to be insanely massive. So the reason why I'm so confident this Baron buff is huge is that LeBlanc can't have her kind of siege relevance where she can either mimic distortion the minions or QR mimic the Q and then back away and then try to help with wave clear with W when Baron buff is there because, of course, reduce damage to minions. So LeBlanc actually goes from being pretty good in the siege to terrible. Kalista isn't going to be able to walk up and just, you know, rend down minions when Varus, Syndra, and GP are there with barrels and spheres, oh my, to kill her. And Vladimir is basically going to be in a side lane most of the time or all innings. So they actually have no answer to Baron buff and TL as a siege comp. So siege comp usually shuts down a Baron comp. A siege comp usually shuts down against a Baron, but also basically wins with Baron. So it's a big Baron here. Captain Hindsight, very easy to say that TSM just shouldn't have started the Drake, then they wouldn't have lost the Baron, and the game would have gone longer. But I think TSM had that read that it was getting closer to 4, 5, 6 items, and they had to try something. But sometimes you touch the frying pan, you get burned, right? And this feels like it's getting burned. And now TL gets to do one objective at a time. They got the Baron. They got a lot with the Baron. About 3,000 gold power play. Now they can just do the same thing around the Elder. And trip Quadra QSS, but Rek'Sai can't walk up. So now Rek'Sai is the easy target. And while the team fight we like from the Vladimir, like the Kalista's been pretty well held. There's quite a lot of AoE damage or just guaranteed damage. Like Syndra presses all her buttons and Kalista goes to half health even through shields, right? So it's actually quite hard to pull off the team fight here from TSM compared to some of their other drafts. Yeah, with the minion wave advantages. How many times do we see a team bait around Elder, follow the minion wave in mid, and either end the game or backdoor or take an inhibitor? Like, happens so much, and you get the free Elder each time. Wave control, mid lane inhibitor down, plus the Elder being a must fight for objective is a game closer. It's what Riot put it in the game for, and it definitely works. The lull state was so long, like nothing happened for 20 to 35. Now they're going for the all-in. But the all-in comes at... Where's the gold numbers here? Yeah, 7,000 gold disadvantage against 3-stack Elder is the best time they get for Broken Blade to flank. Remember that Broken Blade hasn't really been able to flank outside of one turret dive all game. He's been much more well-held than previous fights. Front to back, baby. Yep. TL played this game really well. It was a very different game than the previous ones, but my favorite thing to take away from this game is how they adjusted their draft to take away red side 5th pick win condition for Broken Blade. Again, I talked about it in Pick and Ban and during the game, but they knew exactly what to expect around the Vladimir pick. They knew that Vladimir was the obvious pick to accelerate to the first round, but it was never going to be a comp that Vlad could fit into, and then Vlad, boom, surprised you. It was Vlad early, things banned further, other things slowed down, and then the Vlad was well targeted in game as well. This was a really smart game around that. Now, it required a fortunate Baron to guarantee the win, but I think they were in a really good spot beforehand. And that was even with, Core JJ making some pretty interesting decisions 2v2 on the bot side. They had the liberty to do that because GP first round gave them trade up advantage, even with some mistakes being made in the bot side. So this was a really interesting game. It doesn't fully answer any of our points yet, so I won't return to our kind of 7 points to gauge Team Liquid on. But this was Team Liquid being smarter. They were in the first couple of games. They also showed good mental to come back in this game. I think Impact had played great in the GP versus Vlad matchup, but it's an enduring matchup, so this probably doesn't surprise anyone, right? Given that he wasn't required to run over lane. So I don't know if we learned anything new, but I think we come away saying that that was well played by TL. So, gonna use this to take a short break, play some ads, come back with some questions, and then we're past the halfway point, baby. That means we're gonna finish this tonight. 5.5 hours in, 2 games to go. TL versus TSM at Game 4 coming after a short break.